Welcome back to another episode of Eatin' Ain't Cheatin'. I'm your host, Chosung. Today we are featuring our friend Josh Crooks from Sturgis, Michigan. Josh is a pipe-smoking buddy of mine. We belong to the same pipe club, and we get together very infrequently due to COVID and my immunocompromised condition. Today, Josh is sharing shawarma with us. I just banged my knee on the desk, and boy, did that hurt. Look at my face, folks. Boy, he's almost crying.
Oh my God, that hurt. Right on my surgery scar on my knee. Ooh.
Generally, we have like 1 or 2 weeks a year to do our Christmas shopping and buying and all that kind of fun stuff. So this week was that week for the year. So basically, it's purchased all the Christmas stuff all at the same time on the same paycheck, and she went to Walmart to get the stuff to make the Chex Mix, and she is half crazy. And so she went there and she spent $180 on Chex Mix shit and packaging for that and some of the packaging stuff. I'm like, what in the... I'm like, how much did you spend? She says, and I could tell just by how long she was pausing that it was a big number. So I'm like, $200? And she's like, it's close to that. I'm like, you spent $200 on Chex Mix. Does that seem acceptable to you? And she's like, she realized that was like, because, you know, we both go overboard on shit like that, you know, and it's like, my next comment was, that's ridiculous, but I've done it before too, you know, and you've seen me do it before.
Oh, yeah,
Mm-hmm. But this is the week to do it, you know, because the money's there that is budgeted for this, and she's making like 3 different batches. She's making a batch to take to work, a batch for home, a batch or 2 for home. She's like, I need to make enough for the boys, I need to make enough for you, and make enough for the house. I'm like, okay.
You know the toffee bark that you do on saltine crackers?
Mm-hmm.
Well, imagine those coconut dark chocolate finsters, coconut side down on the parchment paper, and then a second layer to cover that empty spot. Drizzle that with the toffee topping or toffee whatever, and then sprinkle while it's still hot. Sprinkle in your nuts of choice. That's what I'm going to make as a batch of Christmas bark. The proper soft box would be ideal, where the sides are black and only the front is the diffuser. Because now there's this glare on the painting right here.
Oh yeah, from the bag.
Yeah.
You're gonna take it down.
No, it's fine. This is all educational for me as I'm loading it in and cutting it and clipping it and editing. I'm seeing what I need to see to make the scene work. So I've watched video after video after video, and it's like all these people are using, you know, specialized shit and expensive shit, and the ones that are using cheap shit, they go through the stuff so rapidly that you can't really follow, and it's like half of the recipe's not there, so you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, there's enough of the recipe that you can get the general idea, but it's up to you to figure out the specifics. And
Right.
I find that a lot in online recipes for cooking.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll have like oh, do this, and it's like, okay, how the fuck do I do that?
Right.
You
You're
know?
like, I don't know what you're talking about. Do that.
Or there's 17 different methods for this. Which one do you want me to fucking use?
Right. Oh, you
Because
gotta
they
look
all-
that up.
They all have different results. You know, which result are we looking for here? Give me an idea of where I'm going.
Right. That camera has focus track.
Mm-hmm.
So when it recognizes a face, wherever that face moves, that's where the focus is at, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that one doesn't. So I had to kind of
Yeah.
play with the focus to try to get the major clarity on your face. It's hard for me to do because my glasses are over there.
And it's not a big screen.
And it's not a big screen. No, we've been talking about upgrading our phones. And although I love the iPhone, I love the operating system. I need something that's got a brighter screen, and I would prefer something with a larger screen. And Triple Tech has a couple different tablets or phablets, if you want to call them that. And it's Samsung operating or Microsoft operating or whatever.
What? Samsung and Microsoft don't have operating systems.
Well, it's whatever that
They use Google.
is, an operating system.
Yeah. Android
Yeah, Android.
is Google.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, whatever.
Yeah.
It's that.
Yeah.
It's not Apple. It's the other.
Yeah, it's Android.
I'm not a tech guy, so.
Well, so iOS and Apple are, it's our sandbox. You're going to follow our rules. You're going to
Right.
do exactly what we say in order to use our equipment when you're the one paying the purchase price. Android is an open source. Like, the code is open.
Sure.
Like, you can go online and download the operating system and edit it how you see fit so that you can write your own apps and this, that, and the other thing. But it's more complex because they're, like, when you write an app, you have to go from something that may be running iPhone or Android, like 9, 8, 7, whatever the hell it was, all the way up to the current ones. And then you also have to worry about the different hardware as well. So it makes it way more complex, and that's why it's open source. But it was also kind of a response to Apple being kind of a pain in the ass. They used to have different operating systems for all the different phones, but when Android started fairly shortly after Apple did, they eliminated that because it was just so simple to use and a lot easier to write software for.
Another thing I was gonna try to do was using a 3.5 millimeter to 3.5 millimeter male cable. Put the microphone and just kind of rest it here in the cradle to get better audio or to attempt to get better, more equal sound from the two of us.
Right.
But I'd have to go dig that cable out. I'm not exactly sure where it's at right now. I just thought of it when I saw that cradle. I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, you were somewhere else there for a minute.
I was sorry, you know.
Apple, Android.
Oh yeah, yeah. It wasn't even about the Apple iOS or anything. I love it because how simple it is and easy to use, and for the most part, trouble-free. Don't have any issues.
So is Android. Actually, Android's more stable and easier to use.
Maybe now, but
No, even then. Like, I've been using Android since, like, the first gen.
well, when I switched from my Apple back to a Samsung, in very short order, that phone was just choking on shit. None of my iPhones ever did.
Well, that's, yeah. It's,
So-
it's probably more of a product of the the product itself.
Phasing it out for the next generation, right?
And iPhone has been
I
actually
know.
proven to be doing that.
Yeah, oh yeah, I know. I've seen it. I've dealt with it. I went from a 4 to a what? To the Samsung, and then from the Samsung to the 11. And every time I had to go back and forth, because of course I had to start with an iPhone. You know, I had a BlackBerry.
Right.
Before that, I had a fucking flip phone, Nextel. You know.
No,
So, you know, I had all of that kind of shit each time learning that new operating system. Fucking killed me. When she got me to switch to the Samsung, I was like fucking so frustrated. And I'm like, I just can't do it. She goes, you just have to play with it. And I'm like, it'll explode. And then I got back to the iPhone and I was like, the relearning process was so much shorter going back to the iPhone.
how long you had your iPhone for a lot longer than Android?
Yeah, but I got pretty familiar with the Android, but it still took me at least a year to be
Piper,
fluid
that's
enough
enough.
with it
That's enough.
where I was comfortable.
No.
But once I felt comfortable with it, it was like no big deal. And that's when I started noticing its performance dipping. So I did everything that you can do to try to recoup some of that. And it just, no.
Yeah. Samsung issues new operating systems. They tend to downgrade the older stuff so it doesn't work as well. Just like every other, they've all been convicted of it.
Oh, I know. And they can do it because it's all proprietary. Of course we can engineer it to fail.
I'm not talking about the hardware, I'm talking about the software.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
So what the software does is it actually makes it so that the older CPUs will continue to use more power over time so that it drains the battery faster and that kind of thing. And they can change that in the settings of the OS so that it recognizes which CPU it's using and then makes it so that it ramps up more versus the other ones where they keep the power usage very minimal and you get longer battery life. Because that's probably the greatest consumer of battery life on a phone is the OS, and the CPU. And so when they do that, they can focus that in and know which ones are doing which. That sucks. Programming is.
But anyway, again, we get off on the tangents. It's funny as shit. The tablet, the Triple Tech tablet. So yeah, it's Android, and it's a phone, it's Wi-Fi. I mean, it's all that shit, and it's $8.99.
That's not bad.
No, it's like a it's an 8-inch,
Holy shit.
8-inch tablet
Yeah.
in a rugged military style case, which I think is fucking pretty cool because I'm rough on shit. And if I'm using it primarily for, exactly. I mean, I used to, when I worked at the theater, had OtterBox on all of my phones, and it was necessary. So, but.
No, this is full on waterproof. I freaking dropped my phone in the creek last hunting season.
Oh, nice. But yeah, apparently the battery life is like phenomenal. 1,200 nits in the illumination. So it's like, this I think is like 6 or 7.
Okay.
And that's at max, And I think the iPhones are like 8.5, 850. So when you're out in the daylight and you're trying to see your screen and you can't see shit, it's like 8.5 or 850 is not adequate. You're flying a drone. You're using that as your monitor, or you're filming a scene and I need a monitor to see. So I'm trying to make it so that I can have one device that will handle all of that activity. And the thing I'm looking at, that I'm settling on, is the triple tech, I should say settling on the thing that is checking all the boxes necessary so far is that. Or the iPhone 14, but that's just so freaking expensive for what it is, and it's so much smaller than that triple tech. And I don't think it does have 1200 nits in the illumination. So there are some other monitors out there, particularly field monitors for filmmaking, that are like 2,000, 3,000 nits, because a film photographer has to see what the fuck they're doing.
Well, you have to be able to see it in detail and in sharpness.
Yeah. And that's why a lot of those have like those hoods that come off of them, and it's like right here in the cameraman's face, you know, so you can go, okay, and do what he's got to do. So I discovered on my rig that, did you ever see my harness? Okay, so that chest piece that goes across, initially I had that magic arm for the monitor attached to that block. Well, I decided I wanted to try something different. I wanted a quick release. So on the top, or on the rails for the handles for that, it's got that NATO rail.
Oh yeah.
So I found in my leftover toys from all of this componentry that I had one of those. So I was like, sweet, it's $1.20, sweet. So I put it on that magic arm. Now I can put that anywhere on that rail that I want, and it's on the camera, and I don't have to have it here. There will be times where having it here is absolutely beneficial. Like if I'm doing a lot of like super big movements and shit, or putting it on an extendo pole, I'm not going to try to look at the monitor way up there. But if I got my monitor right here and I got the camera up there, I can maneuver things and whatever.
Having separate mounting points is always going to be beneficial.
And having a quick release to where it's dialed in for each setup. It's like boom, and it's good to go. It's right where you want it.
Down.
And if I can do that for
If
both.
you take down.
So that's one of the components that's in my one of my Amazon lists, is that chunk of NATO rail to put on my chest plate.
Is it called NATO rail, or is it like Picatinny or Weaver or any of those? It's just NATO rail.
NATO.
I understand. I understand where the name is and all that stuff. So it's odd.
And at first I thought that it was just a universal rail, that it was one size fits all. Now, as I was researching more, which confused me further, but I need to get down to do some scenes at
At the bridge. You know they have that shut down right now.
No, why?
They're redoing it. They're refurbishing it. Like you can't drive across it, but you can drive up to it.
How long is it gonna be?
I don't know.
Probably not until summer.
That'd be my guess. But they're redoing the whole deck on the bridge.
Wow, it wasn't even that bad a shape.
Yeah. Actually, pretty. It was.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
The last few times I went through it, it was fine.
Oh, I mean, it looks fine, but if you like, so having worked with rubber, and seeing how much wear you can get just from rubber running across stuff, they used to have a surface on that. You remember they had they had tar and they had it chip sealed is what they did, and they stopped doing that. And it seems that the wood has worn down a tremendous amount since they stopped doing that. Because,
Bullshit. Oh.
I wouldn't say dangerous, but delicious.
the reason I say dangerous is because I could eat the whole bag of cookies in about 6-pack, you know, and just be drunk and fucking sugared up. That's just a bad fucking combination.
It's like a coconut pie and a graham cracker shell with chocolate.
And and then hit it with that. It's just that. It's almost like eating that or eating all that sweet stuff with a cup of coffee. You know, it's just.
Yeah, it's funny because they are both the cameras are set at 400 ISO, essentially the same exposure settings and everything. Not picture style, but settings, frames per second, shutter speed, etc. But this one, it looks so much more illuminated than that one.
Maybe it's more the quality of the screen, don't you?
Partially because of the amount of light space.
Oh, yeah. The balance.
There's so much more light fall off there. Here it's light spill in this corner, so this is all super lit up, which also makes my head look like it's just fucking a big orb of flesh. This one's gonna heat too, so I'm just gonna go ahead and put it out. The battery will die before we hit the 30-minute mark, and that's fine. But first and foremost, learn how to be a photographer, to actually capture the image the way you want it in the camera.
Right.
Now that's great for stills,
Oh, yeah.
but for video it's a little bit more tricky because you don't have that same luxury of controlling the light to the nth degree because you're capturing that moment.
Oh, you're capturing.
Multiple moments. So you have to have a little bit more leeway in your exposure range.
Right.
So these flat profiles are supposed to be that grace, and finding the right balance and then learning how to correct it in post. That's the art. And it's a lot of fun. It can be frustrating, especially when you're using two cameras that are, even though they're the same family, they're just not exactly capable of being the same. For one, that's capable of 4K, and this one's only 1080 HD.
Oh, yeah.
So there is that. There's always going to be that discrepancy. So we're talking about getting adding another camera to our arsenal, and then I can get that one back to Carl. And she was like, do you want another 90D or do you want to get a cinema camera? And I'm like,
It would make more sense to have the same equipment though, rather than have.
at this point, I think so too. As tempting as getting a genuine, whether it's a Canon or a Sony or a Red or whatever,
Yeah.
cinema camera, how awesome that would be, but now I'd be disappointed that that camera can't do what that camera can, and to get the two to work together, it's going to be the same headache I'm having with this and that.
Yeah.
So having two like that, which would also be better on the budget, because a genuine cinema camera worth anything is going to be about $5,000 or better. And that's for, entry level, but good quality entry level.
Well, so entry level with growth room, and that's really, am I correct in that?
Entry level with growth room?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd have, with my expected lifespan,
Yeah.
I would never outgrow that level of camera, because there'd be so much to learn and to master before I would say, yeah, I've outgrown this.
Stop.
It's the same way with its 90D. I'm nowhere near fully.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about using it for the still aspect, because that was never my intention. My intention was a good 35 millimeter that I could dedicate as a film camera.
I have this much education in photography, just enough to take good pictures
Sure.
for myself.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't give a fuck about the rest.
See, I got into photography with the sole purpose of being able to take my own absolutely detailed reference work for my paintings. Along the way, I discovered I liked photography for its own capabilities.
It's fucking great.
And I learned enough from all the classes I took for the other purpose to apply them to pursuing photography as its own. And then when I started doing film work, I mean, I did a couple projects way early on when I was my early 20s when I first went to college. But then since then I didn't do anything, and then during my during my grad work, I did a big old project and just fell in love with it. Every aspect of it, the going out, the collecting the data, the footage, editing it, mixing it with sound, and doing all that. I did all of that in iMovie, and edited all my sound in GarageBand. And then I just incorporated it all together, and the video was really cool. It did everything I wanted it to do, and I enjoyed every minute of it. It was like, all right, I want to do more of this. Mm-hmm. All of that equipment that I used, the cameras, the recording stuff, yada yada, was all school stuff. And it's like, once you're no longer involved with the school, it's like, oh, you don't have that stuff. So when I started expressing an interest in doing like drone photography, videography, and she was like, jumped right in on it, and it just kind of snowballed from there. And now it's like, yeah, I want to make movies, shorts for now. But I need to spend time practicing the videography, the cinematography aspect of it, figuring lighting out, figuring sound out, and I'm not in a rush, and I will ask for help as necessary. I'm not interested in going and signing up for a class to get a whole bunch of information that I didn't come here for. I just want to know, how does my fucking microphone work with that little dial on the back? And you're telling me all this other bullshit about fucking parabolic mics. And no. Just how does this work? Streamline this process to work with my gear. This is what I'm trying to accomplish. Can you help me out? Okay. 13-week class? Alright. At the end of it, you're like, I still don't know how this fucking microphone works.
What did dial do? It didn't no dial. That did.
I mean, I was simplifying that just for the sake of the example, but
I get it.
And that's how, and I'll be one of the first to say it, that's how most of my college experience was. Everything that I learned did not benefit a career. It did benefit me as a human being, but it didn't benefit a career path. And that's what they emphasize. So if they're billing it as such, they should streamline the process.
Oh, absolutely.
Otherwise, say, fuck the career path, think about this as higher learning for the sake of information understanding. And then you apply that.
Yeah, I get a kick out of so I have a Associate's Applied Science and Technology. I went to school for drafting. So I have a drafting degree. Means I know how to draw stuff. I had 7 courses out of 40 that were associated with drafting. That's it. Less than 30 credit hours. Or right around 30. I think it was like 28 is what I needed for my certificate. But that's it. That was it for the entire associate's course in drafting. It's fucking ridiculous.